All right, we'll welcome on Art Senato. Art, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So you've been coaching high school baseball a long time. What's your favorite thing about high school baseball?
Oh, the relationships for sure, that you make daily, and of course throughout the years. Um, and every day's different. It's a new challenge every day, whether it be on the field, in the classroom, in the community. There's always a challenge to be taken on.
What would you say like the hardest thing about it is? Because I'm sure from a time and space standpoint, there's a lot of obstacles in the way too.
Yeah, definitely time. You definitely I want to spend more time than the rules allow us to. Obviously, um, we get our kids 45 minutes a day, which is still good in the off season. But by the time they get in there, we get stretched and we throw, and we really only have about 15 or 20 minutes of team time that we've got, and we just try to attack every day in small chunks. Just we're gonna take care of one situation one day, one situation the next day, and I've got it all mapped out throughout the fall, kind of a checklist of what I want to accomplish, like into each 6 weeks.
So in the fall, you guys have 6 weeks to work 45 minutes a day.
No, we got 18 weeks in the fall to work 45 minutes a day. I think we probably have more time with our kids in Texas than most states do. But it goes, 45 minutes goes by like that. And before you look up, it's time to send them to shower and let them get to class. So, but the time we do have, we make the most of it. There's no wasted days. There's no days off. We're going to accomplish something, even if it's just a competition day. We're going to compete. We're going to do something every day.
So for 45 minutes, since obviously it's not a lot of time, do you tend to not focus as much on hitting because of the time and focus more on the defense and base running?
We divide them into groups. So we'll have one group hitting pretty much every day, and the other group will be doing either defense or base running. I've started taking the pitchers and doing more with the pitchers now since they're shut down from throwing off the mound. We're doing lots of other things with them. A lot of it's mental. Just something as simple as working on our grips to all of our pitches, because I found in the past not to assume that a kid has a proper curveball grip or a proper two-seam fastball grip or even four-seam fastball grip. So I'll start with the basics with them. I kind of call it a pitching school, and I'll work with the group of pitchers one day a week for 6 weeks leading up to when our practices start in January.
So for pitchers, how do you manage? Because I know like around here, I'm in Cincinnati. I know there's a lot of facilities and things like that, and kids are throwing bullpens and all that. But how do you manage like kids throwing with you? And then if they have someone else that they go to and throw with them too?
That's a great question. And that's a challenge for all high school coaches across the country, especially this time of year, because it's not just that. This is also the tryout season for summer ball for next summer. It's also the college camp season. And, colleges want kids to come out there and throw bullpens, which is fine. I think the key is clarity. You got to have clarity, not just with the kids, but with the parents, and tell them, look, this is what we're doing. Like right now we're in the middle of a long toss, a long toss program. And we've been just doing the stretch out phase for the last 6 weeks. And when we get back from Thanksgiving break next week, we're going to start doing pull downs. We won't do many. We'll do four to six pull downs on the first day. But, what I've tried to, especially since it's a new school that I'm at this year, and, the parents, they just don't know what I do yet. I've tried to make things real clear with them, say, look, this is what we're doing. This is our throwing program that we're doing. And we're doing it from October 1 till we start the season. This is our throwing program. Anything you do outside of here is fine. We don't want them on the mound. We don't want them doing max effort throws, because our season is going to go on. It's going to go on. There's a date we're going to start, and this is what we're going to do. And we want all of our kids healthy. We don't want anybody hurt, but this is what we're doing. If you're doing anything outside of it, that's fine. We don't want kids to be overused, because that's where kids get hurt at this age, is overuse and lack of education in regards to taking care of arm care, time to rest. I don't think there's too many big league pitchers that are throwing live pens or facing live hitters throwing max effort bullpens right now. I think they're all taking time off of the mound, and they're going to start ramping up here probably the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, I mean, like you said, your season's going to go on no matter what, and a lot of these kids, like you make the lineup, right? So you're the one who dictates who pitches, what innings, all of that. So they need to impress their high school coach and make sure they're at their best when they're with you more than they do anybody else, really.
Yeah, I mean, during the fall, I leave them alone. I let them go play on their travel teams on the weekends. We have a fall team. Our school does. I'm not allowed to coach it. But I get some of the dads or some former players to coach it, and I don't pressure them or force them to play on the high school team. In fact, this fall I haven't really had a high school team in the fall, but at the school I'm at this year, I'm new. They hadn't had one either. So the parents and kids, they came to me, Coach, we want to play fall ball as a team. I'm like, man, that's great. My concern is you guys pitching on the weekend, and then we're going to have a Tuesday night game. I'm worried about overuse. Are you going to be honest with me? Are you going to be honest with the coach and say, hey, Coach, I threw 2 innings on Sunday. I can't throw tonight. That's what we need. We need you to take care of your own arm. Be honest with us. Like even when we have a long toss day, a stretch out day, if they don't feel good, they don't have to stretch it out. It's up to them and how they feel. We want them to listen to their arms.
How many kids do you guys have in your program?
Well, we have approximately 60, 3 teams, varsity, JV, freshmen. Approximately 60, usually somewhere between 54 and 60, somewhere in there.
How do you, since this is your first year coaching, how do you go about like trying to, I know this is a word that's thrown around a lot, but like build a culture?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I've learned this the hard way throughout the years, you've got to lead from the front, and whatever I'm asking them to do, I've got to be able to model it. If that's get in the weight room, bust their tail, then I got to be in there busting my tail in the weight room. If the school rules wear your ID, then I've got to wear my ID. I've got to be the model of what I want from a culture standpoint. I don't want them to lose their mind in an adverse situation, and I can't lose my mind in an adverse situation. So I've got to model the culture that I want. I think that's number one. I think that's just effective leadership. Be the culture you want to be. I think that they've got to know that I care about them, and they've got to know that I love them. And that's really hard to do when you don't even know anybody yet. When you don't know the kids yet. One of our seniors, he really stepped up this summer, and he organized a breakfast once a week with the seniors and myself, so we could get to know each other before school started. And I encouraged them to what are some changes you want to see? What do you want to do differently? What are some things that worked? What are some things that didn't work? I wanted to get their input from them to help kind of build what the fall is going to look like. And so far it's working really well. I think the chemistry is and the culture is really good. There's some tweaking that needs to be done to it, but I think right now we're on a really good path.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear you say that, like, they need to know that, you care about them, because if they feel like you care about them and they're a part of something that's bigger than themselves, I mean, they're invested, right? They're going to be all in and everything that you guys are doing. Are you someone who, like, I've seen this in the past where I've been talking to other high school coaches, like, do you name captains? How do you go about doing like leading practice?
Yeah. Everyone in the program gets a say in it. I don't think you can force leadership on somebody. And I think leadership comes in lots of different, forms. You've got the cheerleader, the rah-rah guy, and then you got the guy that just goes about his business in a real business-like manner. We want, oh, here we go. It's one of my dogs. Yeah. We let the kids have a say in it, and the coaches have a say in it. It's a collaborative deal, and that's kind of how we want everything in our program. We want the kids to have a say. I tell them, I say, hey, this is as this group, this team this year, you get one shot. That's it. I'll have another team next year. I'll get a do-over next year. You won't get a do-over. I'll look at things we did good and build upon them, and I'll look at things that we did poorly and work on and try to fix it. But this is your chance. So, we want them to be invested. We want them to take ownership. And so they get, their opinions are valued. And I want them to be part of everything that we do. I want them to have a say in it. And they know that I'm the head coach, and I'm going to have, the buck stops with me, and I've got to make the final decision. But I want them to know that they have, that their input is valued, and that they do get a say in things.
Because I know this is always an issue, especially, high school baseball, travel baseball. What about playing time and dealing with parents? I mean, is there boundaries with that? Like, how do you go about making sure it doesn't get out of control?
Travel baseball and high school baseball, it's apples and oranges. It's two different games, in my opinion. When I coach during the summer, I don't coach those teams the same way I coach my high school kids. To me, summer ball is more of a showcase type deal. You're showcasing your abilities. Hopefully there's college coaches in the stands. Some days there are, some days there's not. But it's to me, it's different. You pay to play during the summer. A family pays an organization $2,500, $3,000. They're going to play. You're going to play. To me, summer ball, travel ball, playing time is bought. I had a kid last summer that, he was 2 for 40 at one time, and it struck out half his at bats. I kept rolling him out there, at least twice a weekend. They paid to play. If you're 2 for 40 with 20 strikeouts on a high school team, you're not going to, it won't get that far. It just won't. Everything we do is earned in our program. You have to earn the playing time. I told the seniors this year, hey, it's your last year, but you need to understand something. It's not your turn. There's no such thing as it's my turn because I'm a senior. You've got to earn it. If there's a freshman that can get the job done, he's going to play. If there's a sophomore and get the job done, he's going to play. It doesn't matter. They've got to earn it. And there's some things we do throughout the fall to try to build that culture as well. It's a message that I try to get out to the parents as often and as early as I could when I took the job. And, right now everybody's 100%, we're behind you, coach. This is great. But I'm also, this is my first rodeo. I haven't made a lineup out yet. Once I start making lineups, then, feelings will get hurt. But, and I get that from their perspective. I just try to make them understand that from my perspective, it's always a business decision. It's never personal. It's never personal. If you were a bad guy, a bad teammate, you won't be in the dugout. You wouldn't be on the team. If you're on the team, we love you. We want you to be part of it. We want whatever role you have. We want you to take it on and be the best at it. But, high school baseball, I don't get to turn my roster over, the bottom of my roster over here. I don't get to have tryouts and have kids from all over North Texas come try out for my high school team. I've got the kids in my attendance zone, and that's it. So, it's not, it's apples and oranges. And I try to, make that real clear in the first couple parent meetings. Hey, this isn't youth baseball where there's 11 kids on the roster. Everybody's going to play. There's going to be 20, 22 kids on the varsity roster. Only a max of 10 are going to play. If I DH, that's if I DH for somebody. So that means there's going to be 12 to 13 guys on the bench. So it's playing time is not guaranteed at all. Not in high school.
So if you let's just say typical game is a Tuesday, Wednesday game. It's not against one of your main rivals. I mean, do you still go about it where it's hey, we're going to go prepare and I'm going to put the lineup out that's going to try to win the game, like our regular lineup. And then if it gets out of hand, then I'll start subbing in guys and giving other guys opportunities. Because I know it's hard, right? In baseball, you can't just sub guys in and out like basketball. So, right. I mean, it's that's what makes high school baseball so hard. The season's so short. You only have so much time. How do players prove that they can play for you during a high school season? Maybe they're playing basketball right now.
Yeah, the multi-sport athletes, I tell them you're a multi-sport athlete. That's great, but you're also a multi-practice athlete. And for the basketball kids, yeah, your basketball season. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you during basketball season. You go focus on basketball. But in your free time, you need to go hit one day a week. You need to get out there and try to throw a couple days a week, get your arm in shape. Because what you don't want to do is play basketball, and then the first day you pick up a baseball is the day after basketball season ends. And now you're going to get out there and try to impress me and throw the ball hard and do things with the baseball in your hand that you're just not ready to do. That happened to me my sophomore year in high school. I played basketball, didn't throw much. Basketball season on a Friday. I go to practice on Tuesday and I go to practice on Monday and I'm starting on Tuesday in a scrimmage, and I'm throwing the ball from right field. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, my elbow was killing me. It wasn't ready for that. And I'd never experienced that before. So I didn't know what to do. I'm 16 years old. I didn't know anything about arm care in 1985. I mean, I just pick up the ball and let's go play ball. I mean, that's what I'd always done. And my arm was never the same after that. I don't think I ever threw the ball as hard as I did when I was a freshman in high school. That I think there's more education out there. And that's what I tell my multi-sport guys, when you're in season, when you're the sport, you focus on it, but there's stuff you have to do. You have to do what you have to do in order to be ready. Cause you want to come in and be at least somewhat ready when baseball starts. That way you're not, too far behind everybody. You're going to be behind. That's part of it. But usually those guys, they're competing, and they're usually pretty reliable guys and multi-sport guys.
You said you coached summer baseball. What'd you do during the summer? Where'd you coach?
I coached the Evo Shield Canes. They have a North Texas program, and I coached 17 youth. They're 2022, so they're seniors this year. I coached last summer.
So you've been able to see it now from both sides, travel, high school, as you mentioned earlier. From a recruiting standpoint, especially maybe just specifically for your high school guys, is that still mainly something that really just the travel baseball coaches handle, or do you as the high school coach are involved in that process too?
I've always been involved in that process. I've throughout the years, I think I've established a pretty good network of college coaches, guys that I can count on and they can count on me. I'm not gonna send them somebody that can't play. I think, who knows the kid better, the high school coach who's got him 10 months out of the year, or their summer coach that's got them for 8 to 10 weeks during the summer, 4 days a week, 5 if they practice. The team I had last summer, we couldn't practice during the week because I had kids from Lubbock, Texas, which is 5 hours away, all the way to Tyler, Texas, which is 5 hours away to the west, and then Tyler, Texas is 2 hours away to the east of where I'm at. We practice. They would just, the Lubbock kids would just meet up at wherever we're at that weekend, and we try to get there a little extra time on the first day, so there's some stuff we can at least walk through on on the side. We couldn't really have a full practice, but I think the number one thing about recruiting is I think the kid has got to take charge. They've got to reach out. And in today's climate of college baseball, it's the craziest I've ever seen. I've got 4 or 5 seniors right now at the school I'm at. And I think in a normal situation, they've already signed. I mean, they're all definitely next level kids, but the thing I'm hearing from college coaches is that they're not recruiting, and just some of the things that I'm not just things they're saying directly to me, just, I'm kind of reading in between the lines with them, is that they're recruiting college kids right now. They're looking in the portal because the portal's full. And, I've had more than one junior college coach, and I mean, it's a guy that's won national championships. They're one of the best programs in the country. And he's told me, he said, Art, I don't have to recruit high school kids. I can go in the portal and get 12 kids like that. And when he says 12 kids, he's talking about SEC, Big 12 type kids. I mean, he can go get kids like that and bring them into his program and just reload. He doesn't have to rely on a high school kid. Now he's going to sign high school kids, but I mean, that portal, man, it's hurting high school kids right now for sure.
Do you see the portal? I need to make sure I'm up to date on it. Is it going to stay the same like it is right now, or is this a COVID thing and eventually will go away?
I'm sure it'll stay, but what's gonna go away in the next year or two are these 6-year seniors, these 24-year-old seniors at 4-year schools, these 20 to 22-year-old sophomores at your colleges. That's all going to go away in the next year or so. Then you could still transfer down, but that's always been that way. With the JUCO guys, they've always brought in 2 or 3 guys from 4-year schools in January. That's always happened. I've always warned my kids that go to junior college, which I think is the best route for 85 to 90% of the kids out there. I tell them, hey, you have a great fall. You earn a spot at the end of the fall. That's great, but you better be ready. You better be ready to compete in the spring, because I promise you, they're going to bring in, 2 to 6 D1 guys in, for January. You may have a job at the end of the fall. That doesn't mean you're going to have it at the end of the spring. I mean, you're still going to have to get back out there and compete and earn it.
Why do you think that JUCO is best for 85 to 90% of the players out there?
Well, because I think I don't think this is an opinion. I think it's probably a fact that, all the high school kids that sign, and go to, Power 5 schools, I think that's a very small percentage of high school players. And junior colleges, they have different rules. I mean, they can play 25 to 35 games in the fall. And, I had a kid, one of my seniors went and worked out with a junior college about a month ago. And he told me, he said, yeah, they invited me down there and I'm going to, they're just going to have a light practice. And I'm saying to myself, light practice. Yeah, that means it's only going to be about 4 hours. I didn't say, I wanted him to go down and experience it for himself. I said, well, that's good. Just, you go down there and compete, show him what you can do. And he calls me the next day, that night, he's like, Coach, we practiced for 4 hours. I said, yeah, that's a light practice at junior college. There's no rules. I mean, they don't call them JUCO bandits for nothing. The 7-hour inter squad on Sunday, where all 35, all 20 or 30 pitchers, however many they got in the fall, they're going to throw on Sunday. And, you're out there 6-7 hours sometimes. And that's Sunday. I mean, that's day off in high school baseball. I mean, I can barely talk to you on a Sunday, much less get you on the field. So it's a different lifestyle. You go to junior college to develop. You go there to get 150 at-bats in the fall, get 20 to 30 innings in the fall. You get to develop. At an NTA school, they've only got a 45-day window where they could work out as a team. They only get 6-7 weeks where they could work out as a team, and they'll have a fall World Series. I think the last couple of years, schools have been playing other schools one or 2 games, but I think that counts against their spring schedule totals. So, they're just there's a lot of small group activity at 4-year schools, but as far as the team goes and just at bats and innings and game reps, you get way more of those at junior college level than you do at a 4-year school.
Yeah, and I mean, some of these 4-year schools are not only they have some of these 5th or 6th year seniors, they're bringing in every year 20 kids. I mean, I was on the Perfect Games website just looking at commits for Power 5. There's some kids, I mean, freshman, sophomore in high school right now, they got 16, 17 commits already to some of these schools. I mean,
Yeah.
why would you commit? Why would you commit if you're a freshman or sophomore? Like, what good does that do as a player? Because you don't, the university, I just got talked to Walter Beatty, and he was like saying, which I thought was smart. You committed to the university didn't commit to you.
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And everyone's caught up in likes and retweets and shares. And it's almost like a race to see who can commit first on Twitter. And I love Twitter. Twitter's got a lot of positives, but there's also some negatives involved with it. And I mean, they're all, this is what kids and parents don't understand. When they make you a verbal offer when you're an 8th grader or 9th grader, they're making it based on a projection, kind of like how Major League Scouts project players. He's got projectability. Well, what does that mean? That means they're expecting you, like if you're throwing, if you're a big arm kid and you're throwing 82, 84 when you're an 8th grader, well, they're going to project you to be a 90-mile-an-hour guy going into your senior year. And if you're not, they're going to drop you. They're going to drop you. And they're going to go get the kid that has developed, that maybe was 78 when he was in 8th grade, but now he's going into a senior year and he's 91, 92. Your projectability is gone now. And that's a great way to put it. You've committed to them, but they haven't committed to you, because it's all verbal. It's a verbal agreement. And I mean, even, just in society, a man's word isn't worth what it used to be. It's just not. You see it every day in all walks of life. As a high school coach, I laugh because I'm like, okay, you're watching them against other 14-year-olds, and they're good 14-year-olds. Don't get me wrong, it's good competition, but you don't know the maturity level of that kid. I mean, I have a friend of mine, and I'm not going to say what school, but he was a recruiting coordinator at Power 5 school, and he just walked away from it because he couldn't lie to parents anymore. And he told the head coach, and the head coach was like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to offer, we've got to offer kids before our cross-state rival does, or before the other schools in our conference offer them. We got to get them locked up. We got to get, but are they, they're not really locked up. They're really not locked up. And, he didn't like calling the kid that he offered after his freshman year in high school and then telling him two summers later, sorry, we're going to pull the offer. It's just, whatever story he's going to tell them, you haven't developed. We found somebody else. I mean, but this is what and especially if you're a parent and you've never been through this before, you don't know. I mean, what, unless you've been through it before, how would you know what the recruiting process is like? And even if you went through it 5 years ago, you don't know what it's like right now. I mean, you just don't. I mean, it's different now than what it was 5 years ago. It's different now than what it was 20 years ago, because there's no social media back then. But it's changed in the last 2 years, you could even say, because of COVID.
If you had a son right now, let's just say, he's in high school, what would you do with him to try to get recruited? And I'm sure you have contacts and everything like that, but I mean, are you going to specific showcases or camps? Like, how are you helping him out so to best serve him, like, going forward as a potential student athlete?
Well, since you said student first, he's got to stay on his grades, because college baseball is pay to play. This is something else that parents don't understand. College baseball's pay to play, period. You don't get 100% baseball scholarship. Now, you can get 100% if your academics are good, but no one's given 100%. You know, there might be, I could probably count them on both my hands, how many kids across the country have a 100% baseball scholarship at a Division I school. I mean, they can't do that.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I mean, they've got 11.7 for 27 scholarship guys. They've got to give everyone at least 25%. So that leaves 4.95 scholarships to spread out for 27 guys. I mean, just do the math. I mean, college baseball is pay to play. So for me, and I've got a grandson, he's 11. And so, with him, the number one thing is going to be, you keep making straight A's. He makes straight A's. I don't think he's ever made a B since they've started, keeping, real grades at elementary school. You keep making good grades. And then the second thing, when he gets to that age, is strength and conditioning. You go to a showcase and you're 5'10", you weigh 125 pounds. I mean, you don't even look good in a uniform. I mean, you don't look good. You don't look like a Power 5 baseball player. I think more time needs to be put into development than into playing games. That'll be the number one thing with him. And he's got a net in the backyard. He's got a bucket of balls, and he's got tees and bats, and he can go out there and work on it anytime he wants. I don't force him to. That's the other thing. You as a parent, you can't want it more than your child. As a coach, I can't want it more than my team. If I want it more than my team, then we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. And I think that goes for the parents too. You can't want it more than your kid. Your kid's got to really want it. And so after grades and after strength and conditioning, because the stronger the athlete, the better the athlete. I don't care what sport you're talking about. Then showcase type deals, college camps, and the college camps. It's just a money grab. It's a money grab. Well, who says it's a money grab? Who's telling you it's a money grab? That's the first thing. Who's telling you that a college camp is a money grab? Who's telling you that? That's the question you need to answer for yourself. College coaches don't make a lot of money, so yeah, they're going to have camps so they can pay their volunteer coaches. They can pay, so that the coaches can get a little bit more money. Because unless you're at a Power 5 school, there's not a lot of money in making, coaching college baseball. I mean, there's just not. It's, young guys are counting on that, don't mind being poor. That's the college coaching game. If there's a school you want to get on their radar, then go to their camp and showcase yourself in front of their coaches. You got them. It's a captive audience. Going to a showcase and, hoping there's a bunch of college coaches there, hoping it's the coach that the school you want to go to, you're hoping that they're going to be there. Well, hope isn't a strategy. It's just not. So I tell my guys, you go to their camp. If you're interested in that school, you go to that camp and you make them tell you no. If they tell you no, that's fine. You cross them off your list and let's go find somebody else. As a high school coach, I do take an active part. There's a head junior college coach. I met him during the summer, and he just took over. And I called him a few weeks back, said, "Hey, I've got 7 guys. I really wish you could come see them." He's like, "Well, I'm driving to Houston tomorrow. I'll stop by." I said, "That's fine." And I'll get them here. And they stayed after school and they threw to each other and hit ground balls to each other. And he's going to end up, offering probably 2 of them. And all that took for me was to pick up my phone and send a text message. That's all it takes. And I know there's high school coaches out there that don't think that that's part of their job, but I would have to respectfully disagree with them. I think it is part of your job. You want them to go through a brick wall for you. Well, you need to do the same thing for them. It's kind of that culture thing, leading from the front. That's what I try to do with everything, is lead from the front, in regards to everything.
How would you, like, if I came to one of your practices, what would be something that like would stand out? What would be something that I would like immediately be like, oh, this is what they believe in. This is what they do here.
Our practices typically will, and I've got a lot of football coach in me, so my baseball practices probably resemble a football practice. We're going to focus on defense in the beginning, and we're going to work. They're going to work at their own position, specific individual position drills. Corner guys, middle guys, outfielders, catchers, POs. They're going to do their own drill work. Then we'll come together as a team. And usually we'll take on one situation a day. So one day it might be bunt defense, but when we do bunt defense, it's live. I think that's the one thing you're gonna hopefully find in my practices, is that everything's live. It's not just put a runner on first and coach has got a fungo and all right, runner on first, and I just throw the ball up and I bunt it. I mean, we're gonna have a kid in the box. If we're not live arm, we're gonna have a machine set up, and it's gonna be firm, and we're gonna work on our bunt defense and our bunt offense at the same time. It's live. So if our JV and our varsity is working together, JV's on offense, varsity's on defense, and the JV coach will be in the box giving signs, and they're going to run through all their bunt plays. Any kind of small ball play, we'll anything from a bunt to a slash, to a slash into a, we'll start off into a slash and hit and run out of it. Anything like we're gonna do it live, game speed. And if it's a fungo type scrimmage where I'm going to control the situation and not let it happen random, I'm going to hit the ball, then we're going to start the base runner at 85 feet. So at any ground ball, they've got to come get it. We want to put pressure on our infielders to come get the ball. Don't stay back. Attack on defense. When I go back to when I played in the early part of my coaching career, when I didn't know near as much as I do now, kids would complain, "Oh, coach, they're getting a head start And I would always say, well, just, come get the ball and get rid of it quicker. So now we just kind of put that on them automatically. We let them know, hey, he's 85 feet away. He's not 90 in a game. So you got to be quicker. So I try to put as much pressure on the kids in practice. That way, when we get in the game, been there, done that. And I tell them, you can't practice soft and expect to play hard. It's not going to happen. I've got to make practice as hard or harder than what's going to be in a game. And when this really clicked for me, coaching football about 10 years ago, and we were running basically Gus Malzahn's offense that he ran at Auburn, because our offensive coordinator played quarterback for him when he was at Tulsa. And, our football practices weren't traditional football practices. I mean, we had chain crew, defensive line coach spotting the ball, and we had the game clock on and the play clock on, and we're doing team offense in practice the same way we did in the game. Hurry up. Coach is signaling in plays. I mean, it was game-like. I'm like, wow, we're practicing. I mean, our practice tempo is great, just like the game. So yeah, the game's easy. So I thought to myself, well, I need to do that more in baseball. And I kind of changed the way I thought baseball practice should be run, from coaching that up-tempo football offense, that high-tempo offense where you're snapping the ball and play clock is set, and 3 seconds later you're snapping the ball. So since then, I've tried to make baseball practice game speed. Everything's game speed as much as possible, because I want them to be uncomfortable in practice. I don't want practice to be, just stand around, shoot the ball, and get our 8 swings and get our ground ball, our fungo. And I don't hit much fungo. We try to get as much balls off the bat as we can.
Love that. That's really cool that you took something from football and, it clicked for you and you transitioned it over to baseball in terms of game speed. What's been something that you will always do? You talked about right there, that's something that, you decided to change, when doing bunt or ground balls and runners starting a little bit closer to first base and just letting everyone know that, hey, they're going to be starting a little bit closer, time constraint. We want to practice a little bit faster. But what's been something that, as you reflect back on your coaching career, that you have always done and you always will do?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I still like to just get in the bullpen with pitchers and just, I mean, even though it's not really game speed. Now there's things I've done over the years to try to, I don't want to say trick it up, but getting the plastic hitters that you can put in the batter's box, they can at least have a hitter in the box throwing their bullpens. But I just think getting the bullpen with them and just work through stuff. That's probably the one thing that really hasn't changed is my bullpen routine that I've taught the kids. And it got taught to me by Skip Bertman. So, Skip Bertman to me is one of the two best college baseball coaches of all time. And that's who I learned my pitching from. I was real fortunate to work his camps for 5 years during the 90s and just learned. I was just a sponge. I just soaked up everything him and his staff had to offer. That's probably the one thing that hasn't changed in the last 25 years is what we do in the bullpen. Just from a pitch execution standpoint, working out of the stretch probably 75% of the time because that's realistically that's what's going to happen in a game. But the bullpen routine, pitchers that pitched for me 20, 25 years ago, if they step into the bullpen, they'd be like, oh yeah, this all sounds familiar. I remember you that. But if they come to a practice, they're going to scratch their head and they're going to be like, wow, coach, your practices are different now. Well, I would hope so. I really would. But yeah, I'd say the bullpen routine, that's probably stayed the same or really close to the same over the last 25 years for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, Skip Bertman's not a bad one to emulate. That's for sure. Yeah. No. What advice would you give a young coach trying to build a high school program for the first time? You've been doing this a long time, but what if there's a coach out there listening? He's a young coach. He's just starting out. Like, what advice would you give him to try? And he's trying to build a program.
Forget the phrase buy-in. Get rid of that phrase. Don't use buy-in. Replace buy-in with believe in. You've got to get them to believe in you, and you've got to believe in them. I've got to be able to work them in practice, and when practice is over, I need to be able to say to myself, we're good, we're ready to play. And then game day, you got to go let them play. Don't overcoach during games. I keep a card in my back pocket, and if it's something that I feel like I'm going to overcoach, and I'm just going to write it down and save it for practice the next day. If it's a situation that might cost me to lose my mind, instead of losing my mind, I'm just going to write it down. And one of my kids, and I told the kids, I said, if you ever find one of my cards, you might find some colorful language on it. I'd rather write it down than say it during the game, because all that's going to do is cause them to play tight. And I don't want them to play tight. I want them to play loose. I don't want them to fear making mistakes. And sure enough, one of the kids found my cards one day, and coach, you weren't kidding. I go, what? He go, I found your card. I saw your card the other day, and you were right. You do write down what you're thinking. I said, that's right. I write down what I'm thinking. I said, I want to write it down, and then let's think about this for 24 hours later. Yeah, okay, that really wasn't that bad. That's just me being an intense competitor. I think that's the one of the, forget about buy-in, believe in. You got to get them to believe in what you're doing. You got to be a salesman. You got to sell your program. And if you don't have a lot of experience, that can be tough. I go to a new school. I mean, they're going to read my oh, wow, coach has done this, coach has done that. So, okay, maybe we should listen to coach because he's got a track record of success. And if you're a young coach, you don't have that. But you've got, if somebody asks you why, this is a whole other story, but when somebody asks you why, you better be ready to answer them. Why do you do this? You better have an answer ready, because if you don't, then what's your why? You need to know what your why is. Why do you practice at game speed, coach? How come you don't have a traditional practice? Well, because I want my kids to feel that kind of pressure in practice. That way in games, it's no big deal. And they're used to playing fast. You need to know what your why is. If you're a small ball coach, if you believe in small ball, then somebody well, why do you like to bunt? I don't understand why you want to bunt first inning, why you want to give it away now. Well, have an answer ready for them. Be ready to answer that question. That I think that's how you get people to believe in you, because they know you believe. Okay, and then I would also, a young coach, you need to set your kids up for success early in the season. You still want to challenge them, but I think making a schedule to ensure some early season success, I think that's going to help you too. I've taken over some pretty poor programs in the past, and that's one of the things I did. I made sure we had some early success the first weekend, and the second weekend make it a little more challenging, and the next weekend make it a little bit more challenging. That way they can see, okay, yeah, we do, we're really not as good as we think we are. And I mean, you're not. There's a whole lot to it. There's a whole lot to build in a program. But I think the first thing is get rid of buy-in and believe in. You've got to believe in you, and you've got to believe in them.
That's great. I can't think of a better way to end this episode. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure there's coaches out there listening to this who, are just starting out, or even if maybe they're not starting out, maybe they've been doing it for a while. But I think what you just said right there is just a good reminder if they forgot, or maybe it's something that they're not doing and haven't done and will start doing too. So Art, appreciate you coming on the show, man. Your kids are so lucky to have you. And, I don't know if you're going to the ABCA or not, but hopefully we can eventually connect in person.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go this year. I think I'm going to skip traveling this year and then try to get back at it the following year.
Gotcha. Well, again, appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been a lot of fun.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.